Welcome to another episode of Brock and Jack Talk The Bachelor. This week was a roller coaster of emotions for the ladies in the house and the viewers at home. I, for one, expressed excitement, frustration, pity, and back to frustration. I, for one, cannot stand the format the show has taken. I've made my peace with the fact that the show has zero rules, but I want a rose ceremony at the end of each episode. That's the one thing I can ask for.
Yeah,
What
I,
about you,
I
Brock?
couldn't agree more. It seems like a logical conclusion to the week, and we continue to be getting these cliffhanger, strange endings. And we're really supposed to be getting that rose ceremony, not just because it's a logical conclusion, but people like us who have these leagues and stuff would like to know week over week how things are going. I'm in a league that has week over week point values that are based on those rose ceremonies and things like that. It just adds an incredible amount of confusion, and it is getting a little bit old. Once in a while you have those, but right now the fact that it just hasn't even pretended to follow the usual progression is becoming a little bit old.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and we saw this in past seasons, and it was every once in a while in the middle of the season, or towards the end, we maybe see a to be continued. But now it's just becoming commonplace, and I don't even think they're most times they're even saying to be continued. They're just like, oh, yep, that was the end of the episode. Yeah, things will happen next week, but it'll still be from the previous week.
Mm-hmm. So we opened this week with a rose ceremony. Obviously, we didn't get all the way through the rose ceremony last week. Sarah fainted, even though she already had a rose. And that's pretty much where we pick up this week, is with Matt kind of taking Sarah outside. He later admitted he doesn't know what the procedure here is. Could she already had a rose? Could he probably have stayed in with the girls and let the medical staff tend to her? Yeah, but he went out there. He was with her. Needless to say, the girls were a little frustrated that she was getting that much attention, especially as that was the conclusion of a week where she had a one-on-one.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing on Matt. I kind of expected him to go out. It's definitely the chivalrous thing to do. So I think in his eyes, he made the right decision. Um, and I think in the eyes of a lot of the viewers, he made the right decision. Because if you see someone who you're starting to have feelings for, if you see them, faint or have some medical emergency, standing around doing nothing probably isn't, or like continuing on with what you're doing, that probably isn't
No.
a good way to start a relationship.
No, and we talked
Because
about this in the opening, how Matt's new to this whole Bachelor universe process. And he really kind of even admits that at one point in the episode that this is new to him. He's not quite sure how the show's supposed to operate. He's operating like a human who's dating and trying to form relationships, and that shows. And I don't think it's a bad thing to have a human on there.
yeah,
But yeah, so he does that, and then we come back into the rose ceremony, and obviously leaving it from last week. The lead sort of gets buried here, just because it was not the focal point of the episode. But we have the conclusion of the Marilyn versus Victoria sort of standoff, and we get an answer as to who Matt believed and trusted, because Victoria gets the last rose, and Marilyn goes home.
yeah, and even at that point, I don't really know if that was a choice made by Matt. I mean, there's always the possibility of a producer rose, and this was a she said type of situation. But I don't know if Matt really how he even felt really with Victoria at the end of that episode. Um, I think it was I don't know because I mean the producers put them next to each other, like they knew that like okay this is gonna go down to the final rose. They set Matt up for this, I'm sure, and I don't know. I don't even know if Matt, if that was his rose or a producer rose, but I honestly think there's good cause for it to be both.
Yeah,
It
we'll get
definitely could have been,
into. I've got a few thoughts on the whole Victoria situation. We'll get into those a little bit later when we do the Royal Rumble segment. Of course, we do have to say goodbye this week to five of the ladies. And we'll take a brief moment here to honor them. All right. So the 5 we lost there, we saw Marilyn, obviously. We talked about her. Sydney, who I could not have picked out of a lineup. Kristen, who, again, no real recollection of her. Alana, who was a little bit just weird. I talked a lot about her in the first episode, who I thought she was kind of funny. She goes, and then obviously Ileana, who we all remember from the putting her balls in Matt's mouth night one.
What a great start. I thought
and,
he would get her somewhere.
and I'll be completely honest, if you take the Victoria Maryland drama out of last week, I don't know that I would have recognized any of them or realized that any of them weren't there anymore. So really it was kind of 5 that didn't feel super consequential to me. I don't have any thoughts one way or the other on most of these girls.
Yeah, I mean, even looking at our lineup in our own league for who it lost a girl, some of those girls weren't even chosen. So these were extremely inconsequential women who, even our own teams back home didn't see any value in, even in the first episode. So I think this was really a lackluster rose ceremony, minus the loss
Listen,
of Marilyn.
there's still so many girls in it. You're gonna get some pretty obvious, who the heck was she roses. We're not gonna get into people. It was a lot of girls. He's not gonna have connections with most of these. Marilyn was the closest thing we saw. So
I wouldn't even say that was close.
sense.
He had a connection with her
It
that
makes sense
just got
that
completely violated by Victoria.
yeah, it's gonna make sense that we're gonna lose a lot of these girls early on. So the first date here is the group date. We're told by Chris Harrison we're going to get 2 group dates and a one-on-one. That doesn't happen. But we do get the first group date, which is sort of prefaced saying that Matt's let go of the reins. Chris Harrison's deciding these dates, pushing everybody's comfort zone. And I think that this was an interesting one. I like this style a lot more than last week. We'll talk a little bit about what it was before I fully do my sort of compare and contrast to last week's group date. But we enter on Ashley I don't know if she's from past seasons. It says she met her husband on there. She was reading out of Chris Harrison's romance book.
Yeah, that one really surprised me, because I just remember hearing that Chris Harrison got a divorce a couple years back, and all of a sudden he also has like an erotica book. Okay. There might be some correlation there, buddy.
I don't know why we had Ashley reading it. She wasn't a spectacular orator. I didn't feel like she brought the prose to life in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, the girls are all challenged with writing a short, romantic story as steamy or as vanilla as they liked. And I think, some of the obvious players showed up for this one. But I like this one more because we actually get to see the girls talk. We get to see a little bit of their imagination, who they are as people, as opposed to last week when it was just a melee in the woods. You really couldn't even make out who was who.
Yeah, I definitely thought it brought more personal moments with each of those girls, despite them still presenting in front of a live audience and the entire house, even hotel. So I think it was really nice. I really liked the format they did. I really liked. This is a really unique date. It was fun, and it really brought, even with Victoria. I mean, they showed, all the women just having fun with it. They were laughing hysterically, loving even what Victoria was up there just
so we
beeping away.
We go through the whole thing, all the girls, and some of them kind of get cut for time, but it's ooh ah whatever. Matt went first. I thought his was terrible.
It was bad.
That familiar smell of chocolate cake. Could you pick out chocolate cake? Because I can't. Anyway.
Yeah, at first when he was like, and she goes to the kitchen, I'm like, where are you going with this, bud?
The familiar
I thought the point
smell
was not to be misogynistic.
Anyway, thought Matt's was just downright awful. Thought most of the girls were Listen, none of these girls are poets. We're not expecting them to be wordsmiths. And we sort of skip through quite a few. And then we get to the end, and there are 2 left, and we have Katie, who showed up night 1 with her lightsaber. And based on the amount of bleeps and blurs, she brought it.
Oh, she brought the lightsaber back for that story, I'm
We
sure.
got to see night one Katie back. No clue what her story was. I wish they would release it
Oh, I really think they
uncensored.
need to have an uncensored of all of the women talking about this stuff, and not cutting them out and even
Yeah,
the
give me the
slightest.
director's cut. Give me the
I want
Big
to see where
Brother
Kits was
online.
going.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Kits was
Katie comes.
she was making some big innuendos there.
So Katie comes in. She does her whole thing, and like kind of keeps it. Sounds like it's it's obviously steamy but classy. And then Victoria comes up last, and again bleeps and blurs galore. The opening line is something about the royal engagement, and then she just says, "And he smacks her ass hard." And I don't think we heard another word until the end when he cried out "Yas Queen."
Yeah. Yeah, that was uncomfortable for viewers, but apparently an absolute riot for the women there, and they were eating
I
it up.
mean, I
Probably
I
because they're
laughed.
thinking, "Oh my gosh, this woman's insane. I'm totally getting a rose this week."
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, we see. We'll get into this in a little bit, but this was her wheelhouse. I mean, as far as getting up there and entertaining. Now, whether she was doing it to be purposely over the top or she's delusional enough to believe that that was good, doesn't matter. I laughed. It was a time that Victoria was on screen, and I didn't hate it. Um,
Yeah, it was fun. I definitely didn't dislike Victoria in this group date at all. I thought she was great. I definitely
so
definitely enjoyed it.
the obviously the girls who were on the date were in the audience as well as the other girls came in and watched. Um, they were not invited to the after party. Obviously, not their date. So we go
Yeah,
to
I
the
don't know
after
why they were
party.
like, "Oh no, we can't go to the after party." It's like you
It's
knew
not your
from the
date,
start this
dude.
wasn't your date. You're just
Yeah,
allowed to just watch these girls have fun.
yeah. Similar to the stand up comedy with Claire and how she got all upset. Everybody making fun of Dale. Read today that those two are on the rocks. Who would have guessed it? Getting engaged after 4 days, hard to imagine. Anyway, this season we go to the after party. Um, Katie grabs him right away. She didn't get a lot of time the week before, and we start to really see Katie actually get to talk to him, which I thought was fantastic. However, during the reading of the stories, someone in the audience didn't love it.
That somebody was Sarah, obviously. She felt she was super uncomfortable. This was like weird because she'd already had a one-on-one. It's like, I mean, you're in reality TV here. Like you have to understand that this isn't going to be everything for you. This is going to be
Yeah,
these other women having fun,
is
trying to make a
she
connection with
really?
Matt.
Yeah, she said she felt dirty after having a connection. And I've got news for you, sweetheart. There were 32 women on night 1. And you show up here and you think you had one good one-on-one and now all of a sudden he's going to just it's nobody else is going to be intimate with him? Fuck off,
Throwing
Sarah. I'm sick
chairs.
of your shit.
She's throwing fists. We're done with
Anyway,
this.
she wasn't happy.
And
And
there's your angry Brock moment of the day,
oh,
brought to you by Brock's Anger Management.
We're not
.com.
we're not done.
That was only the first of many,
So
folks.
in the middle of Katie's thing, here comes Sarah. Now we've seen the group date interruption before, but it's normally in an entertaining fashion. When Noah jumped in to fight, it was because nobody else would fight. Sarah comes marching in to talk and interrupts Katie and says, "Oh," and starts talking to Matt. I was really uncomfortable. I just need to talk about these feelings and all this stuff. Anna put it best later. If I were just going to steal Matt away every time I wasn't feeling great, nobody else would ever get to talk to him. It's not about you, Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, really, it comes down to how much can you play the victim card to win the game.
And,
I don't know if she's meaning to, but wow, winning
and
the game for the time, that's definitely the best way apparently to do it. Is just play a victim 24/7. And Anna put it perfectly, as you mentioned.
it just, she, like we said about Victoria last week, where we thought Victoria was delusional for feeling like she had this crazy relationship with him and nobody else had that level. That is exactly what we saw out of Sarah this week, only less cutthroat and more like you said, a pity party. So she interrupts
Yeah.
Katie. Katie goes down to the girls, tells them what happened, and they rightfully are like, hey, go get your time back, girl. So she goes up there, and Sarah, instead of realizing that she's way out of line, goes, hey, can I have 5 more minutes?
And then looks at Matt and is like, well, what are you
We're in
gonna
the
do?
middle of something.
Do something. Like, I can't talk to her myself because, like, I can't be allowed to be stolen. Like,
And
I can't do
like,
this right now.
Acted like Katie was so rude for interrupting her time. She's not supposed to have any goddamn time.
It's her time. Yeah.
So finally.
So we're gonna need it to pan up to your face here.
I'm there. The recording's a different camera. Don't worry.
Oh, good.
So Katie comes in, and Sarah has the fucking gall to say, oh, will you walk me out? You've already come in and stolen an inappropriate amount of time, and now he's gonna walk you out. And he does. Again, Matt's too damn nice for this shit.
He is. He's not the bachelor we deserve. He's too good of a guy to be like, of course I'll walk you out. Of course. And we even saw this with all the stealing that went on. Granted, we didn't see a ton in the first 2 episodes, but anytime anyone would be stolen, he'd be like, oh yeah, of course. Like, sure, whatever you want. But like, it was obnoxious. And you could tell he was trying to end things with Sarah's conversation, because I think he realized, like, yikes.
He's too nice. He should have said, this isn't your time, go home, we'll talk tomorrow. And I'll drop, I took a couple of live reaction videos, and I know you saw those last night.
Oh, they were the best things ever.
I'll drop those in here, sort of.
But like the record to reflect that going into this week, I didn't have enough nice things to say about Sarah. In fact, early in this episode, all I could comment on is that she's way hotter than I had realized going into it. But we have fucking rules, and you can't interrupt a goddamn date and get away with it. I'm officially out on Sarah. I'm fucking over. You play by the fucking rules, or you get the fuck out. Ooh, you're surprised he's dating a bunch of women? Fuck off. Done with Sarah.
Be seen in a few moments.
And there again, we're not going to talk about what was going on with my hair. I wasn't expecting to be on camera.
I don't know why you think you're allowed to complain about your hair. I mean, have you seen this? Like, dude.
No, I have not seen your hair.
I would like the audience to tell me how much I should pay to have Brock's hair.
Sarah leaves, and I think we should do our Royal Rumble segment now. We're going a bit off topic, but we got to do the Royal Rumble here. We got to get some Queen Victoria content in.
Oh yes.
So guys, it's time for the Royal Rumble, because this was the best Victoria moment I've seen. So following Victoria in the rose ceremony, we get the commentary where she says, Marilyn's gone, now we got to get rid of Sarah. She says that Sarah's faking her fainting spell. Cannot talk enough shit about Sarah. Victoria chases her down outside like, hey, I'm coming to you. It's all love. We're worried about you. The way you
I'm here for love, but like, honestly, get out.
Like the way you just interrupted, was it your health? Like, we just want to know what's going on. And like, just came up and Sarah, and maybe her most delusional moment of the evening, goes, oh yeah, I feel like we just have this really good relationship. You could not be reading this worse, sweetheart. Not even a little bit. Listen, I'm trying to come up with an appropriate comparison here, but my mind,
you know this is the villain. The villain's coming at you. Try to deflect just a little bit. Try to she just kept saying the wrong things. It's like, okay, you know this woman wants to attack you. Say something to make her not want to attack you. Lie about it. You could say, yeah, I was feeling really sick and I wasn't sure what was going on. Like, just say something stupid besides, yeah, we have a good relationship, so we need to talk.
Is a rabbi seeing a picture of Hitler and going like, yeah, we're buddies. Could not be more wrong about how that relationship is going. So Victoria does her thing, and then Katie comes out. Rightfully so. That's who was there when Sarah pulled up.
Yeah.
And
I mean, and then it brought us into the frustration slash pity party slash back to frustration slash how is the audience supposed to feel during this?
Yeah. So I think, and Sarah sounds like she's having a tough time being there. Whatever. We get back to the group date. Turns out a bunch of them don't even get time, and that kind of ends it. I believe Rachel gets the rose. I don't remember seeing Rachel. She was kind of cut for time in the erotic story category. Again, I hate that we're giving group date roses and having these deep connections that we're not seeing any of. I get it. You may as well title these episodes. Last week was Victoria's episode. This week was Sarah's episode. But there's shit going on
Next week,
very
I think
important.
it's going to be Anna's.
That's the way they're framing it. There is stuff going on here that is incredibly important to the progression of the season, and we aren't seeing jack shit because we're too busy focused on which drama queen is going to steal the show this week, who probably isn't even going to be there a week from now. That's driving me up a wall.
You good there, bud?
No.
You need some water.
But we can move on. So, we're going to switch some stuff around here in the outline. The next day, or actually during this, we get the date card to come in for the one-on-one. That was happening during the group date, as it does, non-linear here.
That's the only way to have a show, obviously.
Time's an abstract construct. Anyway, so the one-on-one is Serena P. Now, I am going to come right out the gate here and apologize. I slept on Serena P for one reason only. There's two Serenas. My brain does not differentiate them as people. It's one of the Serenas. I lump them together. It's terrible because Serena P is objectively awesome, and I completely frickin' missed the boat.
You really did. I mean, I don't know. Looking at the draft so far, I mean, KP, if she's ever watching this, I mean, she's got Bree and Serena P. What a lineup there. I mean, she's doing well. Serena P coming out of apparently not nowhere. I don't know, but yeah, with Serena C, the comparison between the two, I don't really see Serena C going far, but Serena P, being actually apparently completely sane, and even the Bachelor producers pointed this out on Twitter, as you mentioned. I mean, she said, "Oh, I'm falling in like with you." It's like, yeah, you really shouldn't be falling in love with someone after 2 hours.
First of all,
it's not logical.
Can we just one thing I want to comment right out the gate from Serena P? She's got to be what, 4'8"? I get it. Matt's tall, but she'd have to go on her tiptoes to get eye level with his nipple. It is ridiculous how tiny she is. And he makes the comment right out the gate that what she lacks in size, she brings to the table in personality. Not how I would phrase it.
I thought the joke was going a little differently, but that's my take.
That's how he phrased it. Again, the man's not a poet.
No, he's not.
I thought that she was pretty funny right out the gate. Teases him about not knowing how to make a charcuterie board.
He said a cheese board. She's like, a charcuterie board?
Yeah, like jumped his
dude,
face.
come
like,
on.
Like you would on a real date. Like, hey man, I'm gonna mess with you a little bit. Let's not sit here and pretend that you're perfect. And I loved that attitude. And
it really was. I mean, she grilled him on past relationships. It wasn't just like people always ask like, oh, what were your past relationships? They try to talk to the Bachelor, the Bachelorette about this, but it seemed honestly like a genuine conversation for once about past relationships and how they felt.
A couple of great little one-liners. He mentioned he had a pet turtle, and I think before she could help herself, she's going, "Oh, were you weird as a kid?" Like, which great. How else are you supposed to respond? And he was kind of taken aback. But again, she's not pretending he's perfect. He's not. He's a human. She's not saying I'm in love with you after one day. She's making fun of him where she should. It's just
it's
when
actual
she said, "Were you
dating."
weird as a kid?" I laughed out loud. That
was
the funny
hilarious.
part. Not the bullshit planted donkeys. Not the absolutely god awful Polaroids they took. Serena P was the star of this show.
Oh, definitely.
So they have that picnic, and then they go into the dinner, and as you mentioned, she said something about, so have you been in many relationships in the past? And he's like, well, I had a couple. And she again, lighthearted, funny, goes, so you're dating, so you have 32 girlfriends now. What about your past? And I'm like,
It was hilarious.
Listen.
It was so good.
I cannot get over how mad at I am at myself for sleeping on this. And I think I finally picked my person this season who I like so much I hope she loses, because she is just such a great personality. And Matt is a very nice guy. I don't think he's especially brilliant. And I think that her quick wit and overall personality is just going to be lost on him. I mean, we saw it. She dropped those couple of one-liners. I was laughing, and I don't think he understood how funny those things were. So it'd be a sad existence for her, just dropping absolute gems and him just not getting it.
It was pure comedy gold, and I was expecting comedy out of different people in this week's episode, and we still did get some of that. But yeah, she was absolutely on fire. I did not see any comedy from her, week one, or ever would have thought we would have gotten that. But honestly, looking at all the women so far, she could possibly be the best, next Bachelorette that we could be getting if things don't go well.
I hadn't thought about that until you said it, but I would 100% absolutely love a season, because I feel like she would.
She'd tear apart the men for being absolute trash that they are.
She seems like the type of girl who's not going to let them take themselves so seriously. That's what she's done with Matt here, and she's not in the position of power that she would be as the Bachelorette. If she gets to be the Bachelorette, where they all have to deal with it either way, I think that we would see her sort of try and break down what a lot of times is
she'd probably dress them up in tutus and have them go do some ballet.
Oh, yeah. These
just
big,
act
huge,
absolutely
fragile
silly
egos we see. I agree with you there.
I think that'd be absolutely fantastic.
So we finished the date with the hot tub. She gets the rose. Duh.
The same hot tub, by the way.
Same hot tub. That wood-fired hot tub.
They are getting some use out of that puppy.
And what did Matt have on his swim trunks?
He had some turtles.
Brought it all right back around. Kudos to whatever producer sprinted to the nearest gift shop to find some turtles after that came up on the picnic.
That was great.
Again, loved this one-on-one. Thought she was absolutely hilarious. I could watch. I wish we had just a lot more content of her during all these dramatic moments, because I feel like she's not getting down in the muck. She doesn't take it so seriously. We said kind of the same thing about Abigail, how she doesn't really get in the dirt.
Well,
up to this, I mean, obviously she's
up
a little
to this episode.
Even with the Sarah stuff, she's in it, but she wasn't. She was frustrated, but she wasn't in it. I think Serena just, I don't know. I can't say enough.
Yeah, I think Serena did a really good job right even off the bat when before her date had even started. Sarah was like, Sarah was talking to Matt for a few minutes. He went to go talk to her, and she was like, you know what? I'm gonna have all day with him. Whatever.
Like, it's kind of disappointing. It kills the mood to begin the day that he has to go talk to her. But I get all
day.
But
it didn't seem like she let it get her down at all.
She worked with it. She rolled with it. It was absolutely great.
It was. Yeah.
So then, after the one-on-one, it really just all becomes sort of about Sarah. And
sadly,
she's not coming out of her room. She's having a lot of conversations. Like you mentioned, Matt went up and talked to her the morning of the one-on-one. She mentioned that she was going to pack her bags and leave. Matt said that would be a tragedy. And then she comes down, and the girls are not very nice to her.
Yeah, they all were like, no, like, we don't want to talk to you. Like, it was the wrong time to do it. Like, you really need to stop being, so standoffish and stop interrupting other people and stop trying to steal their time. And even after everyone started walking away, she actually tried to catch Anna in the hallway, and Anna was like headstrong, looking forward. She's like, nope.
Anna
like,
and
nah,
MJ
I'm not doing that. And I was like, wow. I was like, Anna, you got one moment where I liked you. Good job.
So
it was a powerful moment for Anna.
So the next morning, Katie goes to find her, and just kind of says, Hey, listen, I don't want you, if you're going to leave, I don't want you to leave because you feel bullied out. I didn't feel good about the way last night went with everybody ganging up on you. Can we kind of talk about what's going on? And Sarah goes through all this stuff with the girls in the house, the drama, how she's feeling with Matt, and tells Katie a bit about her dad. Turns out Katie lost her dad a handful of years ago, wasn't there at the time, always regretted it. And Katie going up to was kind of talking Sarah into saying, like, if you're here for Matt, stay here for Matt. Don't worry about
Well,
us.
yeah,
We'll
no,
figure
I
this
totally
out.
feel that. Her logic was perfect. It was, I mean, well, to start off with, before she heard about about Sarah's dad, it was, hey, I don't want you to leave because I want to beat you in a good competitive way. Because I mean, this is a competition. You don't want someone leaving and have the bachelor or bachelorette be sitting there with regret, thinking what if, which is exactly what Katie said. And honestly, I'm right there with her. I mean, you want to beat someone at their best. That's how everything works.
Yeah.
Ricky Bobby and Talladega Nights, you gotta beat them at the best. And that's exactly where Katie was with this one.
Yeah, I don't know that was the primary theme of Talladega Nights, but
It
yeah,
totally was.
yeah, whatever. He's a winner. He wakes up in the
Ricky
morning.
Bobby.
He wakes up in the morning, pisses excellence. There ain't nobody who can hang with his shit.
Nope. Not when you eat Taco Bell for dinner.
Hell yeah, they're winners, Chip. I love the way they're talking to you right now. Gosh, now I gotta think about naming future kids Walker and Texas Ranger. Anyway, not the point. Moving along. So
wow, that's a new one for you.
As soon as Sarah brings up her dad there, you see Katie just flip. Like,
Katie's
all right,
like,
I get it.
oh shit.
You gotta go. And she even mentioned, she goes, I understand what you're going through way better than I wish I did. So I thought that was a nice moment for Katie, and we'll do our next segment here. Katie, behind the vibrator. We created the segment night one because we wanted to see if we were going to get more of a character out of Katie than just the vibrator, because she leaned real heavily on that prop.
She really did, and it really kind of took a little too much out of the episode.
Know who she
I thought.
I thought she overplayed the joke. So then last week we get sort of an insecure, emotional Katie. We were very worried about her going forward. She was your sell of the week. We'll get into that later.
It was such a bad choice.
And this week, the group date with the romantic novel, we saw some night one Katie. Just funny, really kind of opened up.
She owned it. I mean, everyone. It was pretty much what Victoria was doing, but not really shitting on the rest of the girls. It was more just like, this is my moment. This is like, I'm gonna be the funny one here, and it was perfect.
It was
fantastic. And everyone, it was amazing. I really want to see that whole thing completely uncensored, as we mentioned earlier.
I have Katie.
It's not fair that we don't have that.
I have Katie in my other league, I think, just taking a flyer from night one. Could not be more happy with that selection right now. Unfortunately, most of what we see out of her this week is not in front of Matt, because we see her go and handle the Sarah situation. And I thought even the night of, when Sarah interrupted her, she handled it very mature, somewhat measured response, went out and talked to Sarah, and then she's the one who was the most wronged by it, and she's the one who went and found Sarah that morning to make sure she was okay and sort of discuss it
kind of
with
a superstar, to be honest.
I thought, listen, this will go down. I wasn't sure
where my emotions were going with it. I was like, oh gosh. I was like, Katie, kill her, do it, you got it, destroy her off the face of the earth. And then she's like, Katie was perfect.
This will go down as the Sarah episode. But the true star this week was Katie. Hands down, no questions asked. Katie was a rock star this week. I can't believe you sold her last week.
Oh my gosh. So, and that'll bring us into our next segment of the J&B 500.
So last week you sold Katie, I sold Marilyn. Hate to rub it in, but I definitely won that.
You definitely did.
You bought Kit and I bought Lauren. We didn't really see much of either of them this week.
Yeah, I think Kit is definitely going to be on the attack soon. Lauren, we really didn't see much from. There was a few moments, kind of even at the beginning of the episode in the rose ceremony where she was. Actually, no, sorry, that was Kayla. My bad. But Lauren really didn't show up much. So I don't really know if you won with that side of it, but
Yeah,
I think
and
those have yet to be seen.
I think I don't know if we discussed it. I think I sort of had a hold on Katie last week. You didn't know where to go with her. Um, that being said, my buy this week, I have Katie in there, but that feels a little bit obvious again with her being the rock star she was this week. My other buy, also somewhat obvious. I'm buying Serena P. I know I'm getting in late. I know that the price is already high, and there's not a lot of room to move up with her. Same with Katie, but I'm buying both of those two this week. I thought that they both had a fantastic week. I think we saw a deeper personality out of Katie than we knew she had, and I think we saw just an awesome all-around person out of Serena P. I'm buying both of those. I'm breaking the bank and buying both of them this week.
Yeah, I think I'm going a little lighter on my buy and sells this week. So, I mean, I think I bought early with Kit, and I think that went well for me. I think I'm gonna hold on that one. So I think I'm gonna buy someone, maybe a little lower of a stock, and that's gonna be Rachel. Granted, she did get the group date rose, but I think she was really just sane throughout it. And I would have loved to see her reaction in that group date if she hadn't gotten that rose, if she would have just been that ball of aggression that everyone else was. But my sell, I would have to say, I would probably, I don't know, I would want to maybe sell Abigail simply because, maybe I mean, she showed a little bit of aggression, but really the big one that I definitely would sell is MJ. She was super calm throughout the entire show. The first two episodes, everything was just, oh, life happens. You get a purse to the face with paint on it, just completely probably giving you a black eye. But no, it's whatever. And then all of a sudden, her a little bit of time gets stolen, and she doesn't get to talk to Matt, and it is World War III. So I'm gonna have to go with my sell this week is MJ. What about you?
I'm selling Anna. I feel like she just got too flustered. Listen, if you're gonna cave, Sarah's gone. She was leaving. Everybody could kind of sense that. Um, I really feel like she got too deep into it. She focused way too much on it. And I think the
Yeah,
ones that are gonna make a deep run with Matt's personality are the ones who focus on themselves and him. Like even Sarah this week when he went and talked to her, he's like, I really don't care how you're doing in the house. You and I have this. Let's focus on us. I don't want you to leave until you and I have explored things, which is the
yeah,
absolute correct way to go about it. And I think Anna's going to get dragged into the mud. Mark Twain once said,
yeah,
uh, people too, people's the people smart enough to avoid politics are punished by those that are dumber than them. And I feel like you have some smart ones who are avoiding it, and the ones who are dumb enough to get into the mud here, and play the house politics and the drama are really going to get steamrolled, especially with how Matt seems to address that. We saw Marilyn gone. I really don't think if you can't handle the heat, I don't think you're going to make it in this house.
yeah. I think the small buys for the women who, as you mentioned, didn't have that aggression, who were kind of just trying to focus on themselves. I would have to go with Rachel, Chelsea, Mari, and maybe Kaylee, maybe Piper. But everyone else pretty much went on the attack, and
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of small buys and a lot of small sells and some big sells definitely this
Yeah.
week.
So and then, obviously, at the end, I sort of just alluded to it. Sarah makes the decision to leave. She goes and talks to Matt. Matt gives her a whole big speech about how you're great. I hope you find a guy someday. And he throws in, I'm bummed it's not me. Um, and I think from that Katie's biggest fear there is going to be true because unless Matt falls head over heels for one of these girls, he's going to get down to the end of this and
And
have
he's going to
that
be filled with regret, filled with that what if.
the memory of Sarah is going to throw some doubt. And I hope
Yeah.
for the sake of the show, sake of the other girls, and for Matt's sake, I hope that doesn't happen. But I mean, it sets the stage for that doubt to possibly exist. So Sarah's gone.
Yeah, and that's what you really hate to see with your main contestant with the Bachelor and the Bachelorette. It's like you just want them to just make it through without being absolutely destroyed internally.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's what we see like every single time. There's always a contestant who isn't ready or who needs to leave partway through. It's every single season. Like it's pretty rough. The contestants need to sign up because they know what they're getting themselves into. They know they can put the time aside. Sarah didn't have the time to put aside, and unfortunately, that's the reality here.
Yeah,
and it's messing with Matt's heart.
So then we're gonna close up. We've got the promo for next week, and we won't talk too much about next week's episode or what we saw in the promo. We'll save that for next week's episode. But we get 5 new girls.
Yeah,
that's gonna be huge. We also get the fabled escort that we've been seeing in the promos. According to this week, that all happens next week. Should be an absolutely phenomenal episode, but we'll wait to talk about that when it happens.
And hopefully we get a rose ceremony probably midway through the episode because we'll be getting the second group date.
I would assume we'll get the second group date, and then we'll get a rose ceremony, and then I would anticipate we get the 5 new girls. And obviously the chaos that comes with that. So, any other final thoughts from this week other than Sarah couldn't handle it? She's gone. Who cares? Victoria became somewhat likable and funny this week.
Yeah, I liked her.
So one final thing on Victoria. I think that she got a bad edit last week because we were led to believe that she was absolutely hated by everyone in the house. And we saw the girls
and we
laughing
didn't see
with
that.
her. We saw them hanging out with her. We didn't see that at all this week. So either she mended fences immediately or we were led a little bit astray. I think.
Yeah, she and Katie were doing a tag team on Sarah. And we even saw, as you had mentioned before, Victoria and Kit. That is something, from the beginning, we're like, this is our Royal Rumble. It's going to be the Victoria Kit show. This massive battle.
They're buddies.
The Queen and the Princess. But there's so much camaraderie that I think we're not seeing, like with that, everything behind the scenes or off the camera, that, when we get the tiny little glimpse of them together, things seem good between them. And I honestly think that might help Kit, and that's what made me still want to hold on to that one, despite the fact that she might be on the attack sooner or later. So I think that was a good call. Now, on a better note, here's Laufey.
All right, so the fact that Jack finally got some pussy, that'll be the conclusion of this week's episode.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more Brock and Jack Talk The Bachelor.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, peace out.